Thanks, guys.
Hello.
Much appreciated. Welcome.
Hello, Santos.
Hope everyone's doing well. Yeah.
Hello.
Yep.
Yes, we are fine.
Howdy, everyone.
Today,
Everyone good?
we are joined by Andrea, of course, and Alan, my husband. We are missing Lisa Risenberry, but hopefully next week. So, hello, Lisa. I hope you are listening. Yeah. Yes,
She's celebrating
enjoy.
an anniversary tonight with her husband. So.
All right. So it's Ellen, Ruth,
yourself.
Andrea, and that's it.
Yourself.
Oh, yeah. Right. Excellent. All right. Well, thank you, and it's really good to be able to do another show together, and this one's
Santos.
doing electricity. Just electricity.
Tonight we have 148 listeners. That's the highest number we have had since we started syncretism. So, hooray! Welcome, everyone. I just wanted to say that.
Phenomenal. To get that many people from around the world to tune in at one session, that's pretty good for the first hit. Of course, they will be recorded and then reposted, so they'll get more hits and more exposure, but that's pretty good.
It is.
It's very... Yep, and yes, well, if only the ears that are listening to this show will benefit from it, that's our job done. That's my job done. And so if it only reaches 140, so be it. If it reaches 140 million, so be it. The point is, the truths that we have, they are eternal, everlasting truths. They're not changeable. They're in our hearts. We don't suffer with cognitive dissonance anymore because our ears are open to the truth. We don't shut our ears. We don't edit. We don't censor. We don't censor, and we are accepting. And so this is the difference between the sons of perdition and the sons of everlasting life. That's how they've been classed: the sheep and the goats. The difference is that the goats that go off to the left and will go to everlasting perdition. What that means, perdition simply means to lose. To lose. Perdere in Italian means to lose. Perdition. And so they lose. What do they lose? Well, they lose the point of why they are manifesting in physical creation. Physical creation is physical life and material incarnation. Carn means meat, flesh. Hence you see this is why meat eaters, it's very dangerous to be eating meat because that's why you will reincarnate. You will come back as meat as you eat meat. And this is what the elites have always known. They've programmed us to think that we're meat eaters. And yet everything indicates that we're 100% vegetarian creatures. The whole anatomy and physiology of man proves that beyond a doubt. There's nothing, not a telltale, one little itsy-bitsy thing that indicates that we are made to eat meat. And so what they lose is the opportunity to become spirits. And that's what we really are. We're spirits. We're spirit and flesh. The flesh part is just an add-on, as you would just jump in your car to go down to the shop. It's just a machine. It's just a vehicle. So this vehicle, our body, we hop in for 70 or 80 years. We learn a few things, and it's an opportunity. To go off into perdition means you lost the whole opportunity. You lost the point of it. And to spiritualize and sublimate your lead into gold, You haven't sublimated your energies. And so rather than going to everlasting life, which is spiritualization, because the soul and the spirit can never be destroyed. They are things that don't exist in the physical world where their destruction is a part of it. It's beyond that. The soul is timeless. The spirit is timeless. The body is in time. And so the goats that go off into everlasting perdition, the difference between them and we who are here listening because our ears can bear what is being presented and our eyes can see, not our eyes, because you don't want to see with your eyes. Because if you've got two eyes, that's duality. That's for physical viewing. You want to see with your eye, your one eye, the pineal gland, the optic thalamus, the inner eye. And that eye sees and knows all things. The eyes, on the other hand, they see the false light. And so people who are going off into perdition, they are tricked by the false light of their eyes. And the false light is electricity. And so today's shows are going to be about electricity, and electricity is God. It's very important that this point is not underestimated. God is electricity. El has always been the universal name for God. Baal, El, bello. In Italian, we still say Baal as beautiful. Bello. Bello means Baal. Beautiful. And in Spanish, El, a man. Ella, a woman. Él es bello. There you go, Spanish expression. Él es bello. That's twice that El, electricity, the beautiful one, is mentioned. Ella es bella. That means she is beautiful. So the first one I said, for those who can't speak Spanish, he is beautiful. Él es bello. And the second one, she is beautiful. Ella es bella. So, and bella is spelt with two L's. B-E-L-L-A. Okay? In Italian, bello. Che bello. What a beautiful man. Che bella. What a beautiful woman. It's always Baal. It's always electricity. And that's why they used to make balconies so they could view the sun setting. El was setting. Go to the balcony to see Baal. Watch him on the balcony. You see? Balustrades. Everything. A ballad. A ballad is a dance to Baal. A ball. A ball you go to dance. A ball you play football with. It's all Baal. In Italian we have an expression, the balls of Apollo. The leather balls of Apollo. And it's a tongue twister. Le palle di pelle di Apollo. See? Apollo, El, Bel. It's all, Bel means beautiful, and electricity is beautiful, and Bel, the sun, the electric sun in the sky, is beautiful. Now take note, beautiful is not good. There are always two gods in theology. There's always two gods. There's Prime Creator, who is only good. Prime Creator is only good because he's one. He is magnetic white light. It's not electricity. Electricity is two, positive and negative. Magnetism has no positive or negative about it. It's just white light, still, silent, undifferentiated. Electricity is noisy and vibrational. It's noise, sound. God creates through sound. The Elohim, Jehovah, all of these creator gods, not prime creator, creator gods, they all produce through sound. Sound is cymatics. See the word cymatics? You can see tan backwards in the middle of the word sign mat, tam. Okay, that's an atomic word because atom is sound. It's the word of God, atom. And so electricity is the child, so to speak, of magnetism. The two force, which comes from the one power, is the child. The one power is the cause, and electricity is the effect. And that's the creator. It's what we call the creator, Jehovah. Jehovah is the creator. And you'll notice that the J in English sounds like a D. Jehovah, Jesus. There's always a D in that J sound. G and J. This is why God, Dio. It's either a G or a D or a T, Theos. You see? So atom, Adam, jar, you know. It's the same thing. It's electricity. That J, D, that percussive, any percussive letter, like T, D, and J and G, T, D, J. These are all electrical sounds. And T is the primary one of them all. T. And it produces electricity. Electricity. Twice the T is in there. And L, of course, will always be in there. Electricity is bell'electricity. It's beautiful. It makes the beautiful world. But in the beautiful world there is good and evil. Because electricity can't be anything but positive and negative, hot and cold, boy, girl, all of those dualisms. But what we're going to learn today is we're going to learn about God, in that we're going to learn about the three-phase electrical world that we live in. Even though it's dualistic, it has two polarities, we're going to learn about the three phases of electricity and how this Trinity, the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, which is electricity, which is also a duality, Jesus and Satan, Horus and Set, good and evil, God, devil, but it's also a Trinity. And that's what we're going to learn, this mystery of 2, 3, and 4. So we're going to master, through electricity today, through the subject of electricity and the ecliptic, we're going to master the numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4, because electricity does all of those numbers and more. But once you unveil the meanings of these numbers through electricity, through God, the Creator, the Demiurge, the Adamiurge, you will understand nature and lift the veil of Isis. Okay, Isis is Eve. Eve is the wave. Remove the W and you have Ave Maria. Ave Maria is Isis Mary. It's the waters of the sine wave. And so, to understand electricity, first thing you must do is get a pen and paper and draw a sine wave. Google images, go on start page and search sine wave and just do one cycle of the sine wave. That's all you need to do. One cycle of the sine wave. Eventually we're going to add the cosine, which starts at the wave amplitude. But for now, all you have to do is the sine wave, the sin of Eve. Let's learn about the sin of Eve. And later on we'll learn about Adam, her co-sinner, her co-sinner. And Adam, of course, also means wave.
Sorry, Santos.
As I showed before.
I just want to remind you that the graphic I made for tonight's show, Electricity, is available. I uploaded the image. The friends can find it quite easily. I don't know if you're going to need the graphic as you talk.
Yes, we will use the graphic. Thank you very much for for bringing that up. I should have mentioned that at the start of the show. We have a graphic for today's show, which Ruth prepared. It's a very, very simple graphic showing this idea of the 1, the 2, and the 3, and the 4. So let's go to that. So can you tell the listeners how to download that graphic and view it?
astrotheologyradio.com/listen live. There, under the player, you can see the graphic. You can download it and you can make it bigger. So I hope you can find it easy. If you can't, please send me a message, and then we can repeat again where to find it. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. And I think you posted it on my Facebook page too. So if you go to Universal Truth School Facebook page. It's there yesterday. It was posted, or the day before. So it's only a simple graphic. It's the sine wave. That's all it is. Okay, that's all we're doing. Walter Russell said, "The secret of creation lies in the wave." Eve. She is everywhere. She is everything. Every is Eve, forever. You'll find Eve hiding in many, many words, guys. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little detour and give you some Eve words. You might want to have pen and paper. I'll try and go slow. But let's have a look at some Eve words, shall we? These are all Eve words. This is where you'll find Eve in the English language. Avatar, navy, wave, have, save, grave, level, even, Stephen, 7, Shiva, 11, every, never, reveal, Eve, as in the eave of the house, the guttering, the eaves, Evan, which is the male equivalent for Eve. Usually people say Eve and Steve, but it's not. It's Eve and Evan. Event. Ave, Ave Maria. Heave. Weave. Heaven. Haven. Heavy. Honey. Leave. Grieve. Relieve. Dove. Devi. Devi is the girl name, the Greek, the goddess. Devil. Evil. Veil. Vibe. Verb. David. Divide. Dive. Diva. D-I-V-A. Deva. D-E-V-A. Devaki, who is the consort of Vishnu, I think, or Saraswati is Brahma's girl. Radhayani is Krishna's. I think Devaki might be Vishnu. Anyway, Devaki. Elvis. Avis. Apis, as in the bull. This is all Eve words. These are all Eve words. Abyss. Abel, the son of Eve, which in Hebrew is Hevel. Abel is spelt Hevel, H-E-V-E-L. You see there the word level, Eve, it's all there. Live. Liver. Love. Eve is the loving mother. Lava, jive, drive, grove, groove, gravy, gravity, levity, trove, move, curve, ivy, ewe, as in the female sheep. That's where it comes from, because Adam is the ram and Eve is the ewe. That's the start of all of these words, is ram and ewe. Okay? Harvey, savvy, because she's Sophia. She's savvy. Over, ovaries, rove, rave, ravi, ravel, revel, reveal, river. Now this is just a short list of all the Eve words that are clearly Eve. There's many, many more, which would probably make another list. But those words all have Eve in them. Once you meditate on them, once you meditate on all of those words, you will understand the role of Eve as one of the major archetypes of electricity. You must remember, electricity is one force that is two-sexed, that is three-phased, that is four polarities. And this will be explained today. It is one force, two-sexed, three-phase, with four polarities. Now when I say two-sexed, I've replaced two polarities for two sexes. And I've done that because if I say electricity is one force of two polarities, negative and positive, what I'm doing is actually just perpetrating the ignorance of electricity that we have, because there are truly four polarities. It's not two, it's four. And they pertain to the four states of matter: solid, liquid, gas, and radiance, or plasma. Now in the graph you see the word radiance. I've chosen to use radiance rather than plasma. So when you go to the internet and look for images on the four states of matter, usually they use the word plasma for fire. You see, solid, liquid, gas, and radiance corresponds with earth, water, gas, and fire, the four platonic solids, the four states of the world. And so what we're going to do today is we're just going to consider mostly the radiant state of matter, which is fire, the creator, Jehovah. Fire is the creator, the tetrahedron, tetragrammaton, tetrahedron, same thing. Exactly the same thing. Tetragrammaton is theology, supposedly. That's where they've compartmentalized it in the theological section. Tetragrammaton. And tetrahedron is sacred geometry, or, alchemy, or, another segmented science. There's only one science. It's atoms. Atomic electrical energy. There's only one science. The whole universe is made by atomic language. Atomic atoms. The whole universe. Everything you see. It's all electrical. It's all two-sexed. Red and blue. Red is fire, blue is water. Red is the positive half of electricity. Blue is the negative half of electricity. Hence you will always see the deities either blue or red. Satan is red, Santa Claus is red, Shiva is red or blue. They're either blue or red, because because it's electrical. And it comes to us in 3 phases and in 4 polarities. The 4 polarities are the 4 states, fundamental states of matter. Plasma, gas, liquid, and earth, solid. And you see, plasma and gas are formless. They are formless, and they have no volume. Whereas liquid has volume, but no form. And solid has form and volume and rigidity. And electricity is the force that creates these 4 polarities. They are 4 poles. And the 2 strongest of these are fire and water. Earth and air are the weaker ones. And this is why when you look at the yin and yang symbol, you will see black and white. And then inside the black and white, inside the white there's a little bit of black. Inside the black there's a little bit of white. This pertains to air and earth elements. And so the earth element is in fire, and the air element is in the water side of yin and yang. Don't worry too much about that because I can elaborate on that. That takes quite a bit to discuss to the what exactly the yin and yang symbol really is. It's a remarkable symbol. They are all symbols of the wave, dear friends. The cross, the Celtic cross with the T and the O, cardinal points and the ecliptic, Tom, atom, is all the wave. All of our religious symbols, the swastika, the yin and the yang, the cross, all of them, they all are symbols of the wave. They all have 4 members, 4 bars, and those are the four quadrants of the wave. So when you get your pen and paper and you draw a horizontal line in the middle of your page, just it doesn't matter how big you want to make it, maybe 3 inches long, 4 inches, 5 inches, that's up to you. I would do it as wide. If you've got an A4 sheet of paper, I would try and get it, from within an inch or so from the edge of the page to make it as big as possible. But the sine wave, this is the most important symbol that you will ever need to know anywhere you are in the universe, any time, any place. The sine wave, the ecliptic. The sine wave is the ecliptic. The ecliptic does the exact same thing as the sine wave. The ecliptic is the path of the sun, and it goes from the equator to the Tropic of Cancer, to the equator, down to the Tropic of Capricorn, and back to the equator every year. Up and down, up and down. The goat has to climb from the bottom, Tropic of Capricorn, the goat, and then the sun climbs up after the 25th of December, the birthday of the sun in Capricorn, and it climbs up to Cancer, which is really the scarab, because the crab is the scarab, crab. It's the scarab, and the scarab climbs the dung with his dung. He climbs the little mound, right, and then he releases the dung ball to go down, to roll down the hill again. And so you've got the scarab and the goat, the scarab and the goat. And what those animals are depicting is the fact that every particle of light, every planet, everything moves moves along ecliptics. We've got a few dogs here getting excited. There's a visitor coming, so you might hear some barking in the background. And so since every particle of light and everything that exists in the physical electrical world, since it is made of waves, everything, then it vibrates. And if it vibrates, it has two polarities, or two extremities, two dualities, two extremes, let's call it that, and four polarities. And so the sun is always right ascension of meridian, Ran, through the ecliptic. Starts at 0 degrees Aries, the Ran, every year at the equator, and goes up to Cancer, up to the Scarab. And then for 6 months it's waning all the way down to Capricorn, the Goat. Then goes back up to Cancer, up and down, up and down, up and down. Everything's doing this, and the sun is teaching us this. The sun is the great teacher of the wave, Helios, you see? And this is mimicked in the DNA, in the helix. See, Helios, the healer, is sending the same helix because he is in a helix. He's not spiraling. That ecliptic is not a spiral, it's a helix. All waves are helical. They are not spirals because they don't go straight in 2 dimensions. Spiral is on a piece of paper. A spiral is 2-dimensional. A helix is through a tunnel, through a cylinder. It has 3 dimensions. And so the ecliptic is a helix. And that's why your helix, your DNA, is mimicking the sun on the ecliptic, because the DNA is electricity. And everything is electrical, as above, so below. What the sun is doing, the DNA is doing, the helix. That's why you have adenines, Aden, thymines, Tom, thymus, Thomas, guanines, and cytosines, Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, ATGC, adenine, thymine, guanine, cytosine. Because as the sun goes through the signs, so the helix goes through the DNA. DNA is an anagram for Dan, Adan. It's also an anagram for DNA, which is what we're made of. It's also an anagram for and, which is andros, the man. Andrew, manly. Andrea, it's the man. And it's the sun. The sun is what makes the man. As Walter Russell said, all things that exist in the solar system, all things come from the centre of the sun, from the still, white, magnetic, centering light in the heart of the sun. This is why Jesus says, I will bring you with me to God. No one goes to the Father except through me, because Jesus is the Son. And to be spiritualized means to go through the sun back to cause. There's no way out of you except through the sun. And this is why it is truly, truly important that we cleanse our temples and get ready for what's coming, to be spiritualized and sublimated and transformed and to ascend in consciousness, to be ready. Very important. It's truly, truly the most important thing to do. Let's not waste this opportunity. So once we've had a look at this sine wave, you'll see electricity. What you're looking at in this graphic that we've prepared is you're looking at the 3 positions along the ecliptic where positive radiance occurs. See, electricity is not just about radiance. There are 4 states to electricity. There's also gas, liquid, and solid, which belong to all the other 9 segments that are not filled out, and we'll do that in time. In time, we will complete this graph, but it's very important just to have the graph simple for now, so that this image can stay forever in your mind, because this is how electricity works. These 3 red segments of radiance, they are the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Birth, growth, decay. Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. Preserver, operator, destroyer. Cardinal, fixed, mutable in astrology. What you have here is the 3 fire signs of Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. Cardinal fire, Aries. Fixed fire, Leo. Mutable fire, Sagittarius. God. This is God. What you're seeing, these red houses of space along the ecliptic, this is where God, the Creator, fire, lives. Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. And what cardinal is, you see, the first to the left is where you always start. That first space there, that's the beginning of the path of everything that exists. Every photon starts there at that equator. Because see, that's the equator. That represents this sine wave actually also represents the yearly cycle from the 21st of March. So you always start the 21st of March at the left of the sine wave, okay? Perhaps what we should do is actually go back to your drawing of the sine wave. Once you do the sine wave, it's important to do this. So you've got a sine wave now, you've got 2 halves. Okay? Next thing you do is you divide it into 4 quadrants of 90 degrees. That's the next thing you do. Then there's either 2 things you can do from that point. Okay? You can jump to 8 or you can jump to 12. Today we're not going to go to 8. We're going to go to 12. So the next thing you do with your graph is you divide it into 12 30-degree pies, slices of a pie. This is very important because electricity is 12. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 12. 12 is the complete number of electrical force. Electricity does 12 things. Light does 12 things. Hercules does 12 things. Jesus does 12 labours. Jason and his 12 voyages. Everything is 12 because the sine wave must be divided in 12 if you wish to understand the sine wave. If you don't want to understand the sine wave, well, you won't even bother even looking at it. But if you do, divide it into 12. And that's how you will understand the 3-phase, 4-polarity universe we live in. Okay? The 3 phases, electricity manifests this world of form by birth, growth, and decay through God, generation, operation, and destruction. Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, creator, preserver, destroyer. Everything in the universe has these 3 conditions. Everything is born, everything does stuff in the middle, work hard, make love, drink wine, eat good food, and then at the end, dissolution. The body is dissolved back into the dust from which it came. And so we see this. We see spirits manifesting into the flesh. You see, we come from a womb. From the spirit world we came, entered a womb, travelled around in a vehicle called the body for 60, 70 years. Then we went to a tomb, which is back to atomic matter. The tomb is just another word for atom. We go back to atom. The tomb at the bottom, down at the bottom. And so what you do now, what we're doing now is, with this graphic, you will begin at the left, and that is the cardinal. Though the first 30 degrees of the sine wave is cardinal. Cardinal means door in Latin. It means a hinge. You see, so there are 4 hinges along the ecliptic. And they are the tropical points, the equinoxes and the solstices. And they are depicted there in the sine wave. The sine wave is just a depiction of the 4 tropical points. That's all it is. And that's why you have the cross coming from it. This is the science of atom. And so those 4 quadrants represent the 4 seasons: spring, summer at the top, and then when the sun goes down through the equator on the 21st of September, goes down to the fall, where it falls down, autumn, or tom, and then the last quadrant is winter. And this also corresponds to the day. Morning, over at the left. Afternoon, that's the daylight hours, when the sun is above the horizon. And then, whoops, the sun sets in the scales of Libra, the 7th sign, and goes down to the evening and the night, where the sun is below the horizon. So you can see what the sine wave is doing. Everything mimics the sine wave. Even the human body is in the sine wave. You start at the left with the head in Aries, the cerebrum, and the 2 feet are the 2 fish of Pisces. And all the other 12 signs are the signs of the zodiac. They are the 12 disciples of Jesus, the 12 labours that we all have to go through, the 12 workings of electricity. And here's how it works. So what you're noticing is the first sign is the father, the ram, Abraham, the father, right ascending of meridian. That's where right ascension of meridian begins, in Aries, right there. Astronomers tell you that Aries is the first sign, and so do astrologers. They both agree. They all agree. Aries is where everything begins. It is the beginning. The father ram, Abraham. And then the sun is Leo, because that's where the sun lives. It's the house of the sun. See, it's interesting because these two red segments above the horizon, they are the 2 signs, the only 2 signs along the ecliptic where the sun has the most influence. In Aries, it exalts. In Leo, it is domiciled. 5 points for a domicile. In astrology, that when the planet is in its home, it's very, very strong. So if you're born in between July 22nd and August 22nd, and you are a Leo, you have 5 points of essential dignity, because the sun is where it wants to be, in Leo. Okay? And Leo and in Aries it exalts, therefore you get 4 points. An exaltation is equally as important, but it has a different point system. Okay? And so if you're Arian, like myself, you already have 4 points of essential dignity in your chart, which is a good thing. Essential dignity is a good thing to look for in the chart, to see planets domiciled. So you see radiance, Ra, which I've chosen in place of plasma, is the correct word. And you'll notice that these are fire signs in astrology. Fire is electricity. It's all electricity, but fire is the positive part of electricity. There's also a negative, a neutral, and a transitory. These are the 4 polarities of electricity: positive, negative, neutral, and transitory. And the positive starts at the first quadrant of the ecliptic. Negative starts at the Tropic of Cancer. Someone's on the keyboard there. And neutral starts at Libra, at the third quadrant, and transitory is the winter. That's where there's no fire. Notice the last quadrant. There is no fire. See, Sagittarius, the mutable fire, is the last point where fire, positivity, can be. You see, so these are the 3 phases of electricity. This is God, generating, operating, and dissolving. And God is the lamb and the lion. And Horus is the horse of Sagittarius. Horus, he's the sun. Horus, the horse. So these are all the 3 most celebrated signs in most of the theologies, friends, because it's electricity. What you can explain through theology, you can explain through electricity. And now, let's examine this sine wave through the yearly cycle, shall we? Why would fire be cardinal, be birthed at the start of the ecliptic? Well, no other element can start a sine wave. A sine wave cannot start with a solid state of matter. It cannot start with a liquid, because these are molecular. It has to start with a photon, and a photon is fire, light. So there is no mistake about this science. This science is pure and universal and infallible. Of course, the first sign is cardinal fire. Birth of plasma. Plasma is the creator. It makes up 99% of the universe. And all the rest is gas, liquid, and solid. 1%. And so this is where the blossom occurs. You see, so the force of cardinal fire produces the blossom. Then you go over to Leo. Now, in the yearly cycle, you see, this corresponds with July and August. And in particular, the 23rd of July to the 23rd of August. And these days were considered to be the dog days. Dog backwards is God, and the dog is Sirius, Isis. 2 very unusual things happened in this month of August. In Egypt in particular. The dog days, extreme heat with all kinds of pestilences. These were the fury of summer, the roaring lion and the dog days. And astrologers used to say that that's because Sirius has now risen, and it is conjunct the sun, and they both add their 2 fires to create and generate extra heat on the planet. And so This is the growth stage of radiance along the ecliptic. Aries is the birth, and the fifth sign, the fifth segment. By the way, notice that Aries is the first, Leo is the fifth, and Sagittarius is the ninth. Pay attention to those numbers. 1, we know how important that number is. It's 1. You don't need to talk about it. It's so special. 5, Pent. Pent is an anagram for Adam. E-N-T, T-E-N, 10. And Pent is the man. He has 5, as Leonardo da Vinci depicted the Vitruvian man, with 4 limbs and a head. The pentagram is the symbol of man. You see? The sun of God. That's why Leo is the sun, the fifth sign. And the ninth sign, we all know about that number. 9. Very, very special. The ninth heaven. Sagittarius. The man becoming divine from the animal. The horse, the centaur. Centaur is another anagram for Adam. It's another atomic word. Okay? They're all atomic. And so what you're seeing here is the dog days. This is the hottest part of the year, where the fifth segment of the ecliptic is. Number 5, summer, Leo. The other thing that happens through that month is the flooding of the Nile at the same time as the dog days. And who causes that? They say that's the menstruation of Isis. They are her tears as she is crying for Osiris. The Nile explodes her banks and floods the Nile Valley. It's a tremendous, tremendous event. But see, those are the two symbols of summer. Summer needs, the plants need heat and moisture. 2 of the 4 humours. See, the other half of the ecliptic gives you dryness and cold, the winter. But in summer, this is how electricity works, by the way. I'm just going through the yearly cycle here to help you to understand this scientific graphic, because this is science. The sine wave is pure science, right? It's all science. But I'm just going through the year to show you how this sine wave is mimicked in the year, in the day, in the human body. You must join all of those elements syncretically to be able to understand God, electricity. So what you're looking at with the sine wave is one thing. It's one 360-degree line. But it's also 2 things. It has a light side and a dark side. But inside this is also 3 things. Birth, growth, decay. And what is more is there are 4 things, because there are 4 elements, and we have not discussed the other 3 as yet. We will get time toward the end of the show, but we need to just concentrate on this on fire here. So you see how above the horizon of the sine wave there are 2 fire signs, and they are the strongest of the fire signs, cardinal and fixed, Aries and Leo, because they are both birth and growth. Sagittarius, which is mutable, which is the dissolution stage of fire, because it's mutating. You see, mutable means mutate, because you see, Sagittarius is the last month of autumn, and it's mutating into winter. So all the mutable signs, they are the last signs at the end of every season. Gemini is the end of spring. Virgo is the end of Leo. Sagittarius the end of autumn. And Pisces is the end of winter. They always finish with mutable signs, and they always begin with cardinal signs, and they always have a fixed middle, which is fixed. And so when you meditate on this sine wave, you will understand how it is that electricity works. This is only one of the elements, one of the states of the 4 states of matter. But what you're seeing is its 3 phases. And Earth has its 3 phases: Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. Air, Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. And water, Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. They all have their 3 modalities. Every element has 3 modalities: cardinal, fixed, mutable. And so this is the science of electricity. 3 phases, 4 states. Electricity is in 3 phases, and it produces 4 states of matter. And basically, that's it. From there, we build our story of electricity. Now, just before we conclude, I do want to also do the daily cycle. So we've done the yearly cycle, and we can see how the yearly ecliptic coincides with the graphic here of electrical force, because Aries is the radiance of cardinal fire, and it brings the blossom, and it starts the seeds growing every year. Leo is where the dog days happen, and it's the hottest time of the year, and also the flooding of the Nile. Very important to understand this. Fire mixed with water in Egypt. Egypt is the mother of the world, and Egypt is where all this science has been perfected. And then Sagittarius down below, mutable fire, is Sagittarius happens to be in the neutral part of the ecliptic. The first part of the ecliptic is positive. The first quadrant is positive. The second quadrant, from the Tropic of Cancer, 21st of June to the 21st of September, is negative. So positive and negative are above the horizon. Below the horizon, starting with Libra, is the neutral part of the ecliptic. And then the winter, the last quadrant, is transitory. Winter is where fire gets its time to change. You see, Sagittarius was the snuffing of the fire along the ecliptic. No more heat, no more warmth. It will be a cold winter from now on. And that is the moment where fire takes a rest in the winter. And it's transitory. It changes. And then it's reborn at the equinox, March the 21st. And it becomes positive fire. Why positive? Well, because the sun now is producing longer days and shorter nights on the ecliptic. And this is positive energy, what's called positive radiant energy. So that is the year. And you can see clearly now how the 3 phases of each state. This is the 3 phases of the plasma stage along the electrical ecliptic. This is how electricity is produced, the positive part of electricity, in its 3 phases. And what you will see when you compare the yearly part, how it corresponds so perfectly, the daily also does. You see, over at the left of your sine wave is always 6 a.m. 6 a.m. And this is the radiant cardinal part of the day. You see all the animals and all the birds fluttering around. It's morning. The cock crows, the chickens, they're all flapping their wings and looking for food, and everyone's chirpy in the morning. That's the cardinal fire of radiance, because everything was dormant before that. You see, we're all sleeping at night. And now, 6 a.m., the alarm clock goes on. And here is that morning 2 hours of radiance along the ecliptic. Every morning has 2 hours of radiance, cardinal fire, Aries, every morning. Because that's how the science works. The day is actually, it's an astrological day. It begins in the morning with Aries, midday is Cancer, evening is Libra, and midnight is Capricorn, the four tropical signs. And so, when you go over to the fifth segment of the ecliptic, of the sine wave, what do you find? Well, that corresponds to the hours of 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. And those are the hottest hours of the day, from 2 to 4 every day. And so this is the fixed part of radiance. This is where it grows. Fixed means to grow. See, birth, growth, decay, cardinal, fixed, mutable. So it's growing, you see, and it actually remains hot to about, 5 p.m. sometimes. Can be very, very hot sometimes till 5, even 6, because it's growing. It's the growth part, you see. The afternoon is both morning and afternoon are great for productivity. It's where things get done, you see. Done, D-O-N. Done is an anagram for Edon, Adam. You see, because man knows how to get things done. And this is the ecliptic of Adam. This is the Dharma wheel. This is, in astrology, it's the ascendant, descendant, and meridian, Adam. It's all about atom, or Adam. Electricity is all atom. And, of course, then when in the daily cycle, when you go down to the 9th sign, Sagittarius, that's the time between 10 p.m. and midnight. And, of course, midnight would be definitely the marking point that you would say every day where night really becomes night, even though it's morning, if you know what I mean. It's the early hours of the morning, right? But it is midnight, okay? So it's midnight, 12 o'clock. And so you can see now how fire, radiance, is totally snuffed out at that point of midnight. And that's the sign of Sagittarius. Sagittarius always occupies 10 to midnight. And you see the arrow of the horse is pointing to that midnight, or in the yearly cycle, to the 21st of December. St. Thomas Day, the last day of Sagittarius, the last day of autumn, the last day of radiance, which corresponds to 10 to 12 in the night. And so, guys, what you're seeing here is how, if you look at this graphic now, you'll understand it a lot better. The top half has 2 radiant 30-degree pies in it, you see? And the top half is the daytime, and the summer, spring and summer, in the daily and the yearly cycles. So of course they're going to be there. If you found that there were 2 fire signs below the horizon, then you know that this science is backward and it was made up by someone and it doesn't work. Because everything would fall over. If I didn't put these 3 red signs in the 1st, the 5th, and the 9th segment, if I didn't do that and I made a mistake, the whole temple, which is the temple of syncretism, the perennial philosophy, the prisca theologia, would crumble. It would all crumble. If I got one detail wrong of this science, the whole thing would just fall over in a heap. But you can't. You just cannot. Nothing at all. Nothing at all goes wrong in this science. Pay attention to the word radiance. Can you see Diane in that word? Ra and Diane. Dia, D-I-A. Diane, the goddess Diane. Right? Can you see Adan, A-D-A-N, Adan, Spanish word for Adam, and Dan is the Japanese word for man, Dansei. You see? Andrew, D-A-N, DNA. You see, and of course, Adam was made dormant, put in a trance, T-A-N, dorm. We're all dormant, and the dead shall rise, because we're in a sleeping state. Now he was made dormant so that God could get a rib to make Eve. Well, that would be deoxyribonucleic acid, DNA. See, the ribbon in deoxyribonucleic acid is the ribbon of the 2 strands of DNA. And that's what the sun is doing on the ecliptic. So you see, radiance is the right word here for philosophers. So I'm going to use, rather than plasma, I can use fire or radiance, but, because of coming from a philosophical point of view, I prefer radiance. And that's Ra, right ascension. And Diana, Diane, and Dio, and Adan, it's all there in the word radiance, friends. And so what you notice now, when you look at this graphic, you'll understand it much, much better, because what you'll see now is the 2 radiant signs of cardinal fire and fixed fire are above the horizon, where daytime happens, where spring and summer happen, and the 1 weak fire sign, Sagittarius, which is mutable and neutral, it is down below. It's the only representation of radiance below the ecliptic. It's the only representation of fire under the horizon of the ecliptic, or the second half of the sine wave. There's only that little bit, and it's very important to note where it's positioned. It does not enter the 4th quadrant. Fire is transitory in the 4th quadrant. It is positive in the 1st. It is negative in the 2nd. It is neutral in the 3rd quadrant. And it is transitory in the 4th quadrant. Next week, we're going to have graphics, 3 more graphics for the other elements. And the other elements will be, we'll do them all next week. How would you do it? You would do blue for water, Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. We could do, let's say, brown for Earth, Taurus. Anyway, they'll be color-coded, but they will have their element in them. So they will have gas, because we're going to do this scientifically, guys. These graphics are just going to be science. I'm not going to put any astrology in here. because I'm still probably gullible enough and dumb enough to want to reach out to the people who are spooked out by astrology and try to make my material accessible to the many. I don't know whether I'm a fool in doing so or whether I should just, speak to the ones with ears to hear and eyes to see, like the listeners on here today. But, hey, I've always tried to, save the ignorant masses by trying to keep things, neutral and scientific, and try to be able to find a common ground with them to be able to show them, the true science. And so what we'll have in the next 3 graphics is we will have the other 3 phases of the other 3 elements: gas, liquid, and solid. So we're going to call them radiance, gas, liquid, and solid, for the very reason that we're not going to use the Platonic, far more esoteric and spooky expressions of fire, air, water, and earth. Very scary for churchgoers. Oh, that's from the devil, those elements, or they're from Plato. Who was he? He wasn't Jesus. We only listened to Jesus. Funny about that, because Jesus never wrote anything. So how can they listen to Jesus? What? Can they hear him speaking still? Is he still speaking? Or are they reading the gospel? Because the gospel is just a myth. It's hearsay, written by, Matthew, Mark, Luke, Thomas, Matthias, all these gospels. It's a literary character. So basically, guys, that's it for today's show. And because I don't want to elaborate more on this simple graphic until we do the other 4 graphics, 3 graphics, and what we're going to do is we're going to see the workings of electricity. So I suppose this should be part 1.
But we're having questions, don't we, Santos?
Thanks.
Okay. Well, wow, wonderful. Yeah. Thank you. Please, Santos, continue doing those presentations the way that you deliver them. There are many of us that, although we might not understand straight away, but we have the ears to hear, the eyes to see, at least the intent, the desire to know this science. If I didn't know the great importance, how vital this the holy science, syncretism, is, I would not be doing what I'm doing, but because I know how vital, how critical it is for those who are seeking, the true seekers. That's why, I'm assisting humanity, because it's not just you helping you, but it's humanity as a whole. So it's wonderful. We are blessed. I'm blessed to have access to this knowledge. Oh my God! Sometimes do we really realize how lucky we are? We are blessed, friends. We are.
Yeah.
So
agreed.
The platform is
Absolutely.
Yours, Andrea and Alan. Is Alan my husband? Are you there, Alan? Okay, I thought you fell asleep.
I'm still here.
Nice to hear you. Good. Right.
No, I was
The
absorbed.
platform is all yours.
Okay. Would you like me to start with the questions from the chat? Have you been able to keep up? They're flying in now. So how about I start with Zingara's question? She has a question about Santos, the number 69 of Cancer, the symbol for Cancer. Does that mean it takes 69 days to go 90 degrees from Aries to Cancer?
Yeah, it does. Good point. Or rather, it takes to go from the equator to the North Pole, so a quadrant of the Earth, so 90 degrees of the Earth, let's say, okay? If you did that, you travelled 69 miles a day, you would do it in 90 days. So from Aries, from the March the 21st equinox to Cancer is 90 degrees. So from the middle of the Earth to the Tropic of Cancer is 90 degrees in ecliptic talk. Okay? And that's why the number 69 is there. 60, and there's other things, I'll go into them too, the other meanings of the 69. It's not just that. But that is a fact. It's one quadrant of the Earth. If you travelled 69 miles every day, in 90 days, you would travel one quadrant of the Earth. And that's why the symbol of Cancer is 69. You see, it's a science telling you it's when you see something in astrology, stop and pay attention. Oh, don't just look at things and fleetingly. You know, these things are everlasting symbols. Yeah. The other thing about 69 is 6 and 9 are the numbers of the moon and the sun. So there's a sort of a gamos, which means marriage, as in, you know, polygamy. Gamos means a marriage. In Cancer, there's a kind of a marriage in the Bible, it's called the marriage of Cana. See, when Jesus goes to Cana and turns water into wine at the marriage festival, well, that's when the sun enters Cancer, because that's where the moon lives. That's the queen. She's the queen, man. That's the moon. She's the queen of the universe. The moon. You know, she's the prima donna. And so that's the marriage of Jesus in Cana. And Cana is an esoteric name for Cancer. Cancer, Cana, you know. And he turns water into wine because that's when the rains of summer are making the grapes big in Cancer. That's where the grapes grow the most. Because Cancer is such a hot, stuffy month. You know, it's very humid. And so this is what the 69 is. 9 is the number of the sun, because 9 multiplied is 18. 18 multiplied is 36. 360 degrees. The number of the sun is 36. The number of the sun is 18. And hence you'll always see this number 18. Krishna's number is 1008. A processional number is 108. See 108 beads in the japa beads of the Hare Krishnas. Even the Catholics, they have half of that, 54 beads, 108. It's basically just your 18, right? And 18 divided is 9. So 9 is the number of the sun, okay? By virtue of its ecliptic. 9 is the smallest number of 360 degrees. And 6, well, that's the number of the hex. The moon is about hexing us. She is the demon, D-moon. She's the moon star, the monster. She is the church, kirke, who turns you into swine. That's why when you go to church, you just become swine and unreasonable. And so that's another reason for the 69, okay? You see the 6. What's happening is basically the 6 and the 9 are having sex. You'll notice that 6 and 9. So it's basically the sun and the moon. Now there's another couple of things having to do with the 69, and right now I can't think of them. That's for Zingara. Zingara means gypsy, by the way, so I like that name. And I noticed that Zingara is always has great questions, so appreciate that. Thank you. If I remember the other few things that Cancer, the 69 of Cancer means, so there is a scientific reason for it, right? 69 miles per degree for a quadrant. Any quadrant. No, actually not any quadrant, because the Earth is oblate. It's an oblate sphere. It is not prolate, it is oblate. So it's wider at the equator. So not all quadrants of the Earth are equal, not perfectly equal anyway. So it would vary, but the average is, it's 69 miles per degree is the distance around the Earth. And of course, the more esoteric meaning of the 69 is they are the number of the moon and the number of the sun, 6 and 9. Very sexy numbers. They look gorgeous together. You can see it looks like a dance. And if you go back to the graphic for today's show and the word radiance, do you also see the word dance in there? Ra dance. It's a Ra dance. Everything is Dan. You also see the word Adan in there. I think I mentioned that before, but anyway, just to remind you. So there you go. It's a dance, and 69 is the beautiful number of expressing that sexual dance of boy and girl, gold and silver, golden sun, 9, and silvery moon, 6. Okay.
That was wonderful. Al, do you have the next question ready? Or
I was going to say it's really the follow-on question from Zingara, which is her second question on a slightly different topic, where she's saying in general music history is discussed as it developed in Catholic song schools of early Rome. Is there anyone writing specifically about music history or music performing in the realm of astrotheology? And if so, could you point Zingara towards some authors who focus specifically on music or even sound?
Oh, look, I don't know about authors. What I learn on this subject is through, bits and pieces here on the internet, I guess. We're lucky to have the internet. I think that's the best way to search now. But as for authors, not really. Look, the best book you can ever get about astrotheology and music and sound would be Pythagoras's. Now, if I was at home, I would be with my library. I don't have any books with me where I am, but it's called something. It has the word harmonics in it. I know that, and it was written by one of the Neoplatonic philosophers. Let me see if I can find it. I'll do a quick search. Pythagoras. In Greek, Pythagoras. Harmonics. Let's do that. There it is. Now I'm trying to find out if I do remember Zingara. It was another very, very famous philosopher too of that period, not long after Pythagoras, who wrote about the harmonics and that. But that would be the best place to go. There's a stunning book showing how the correspondences between the planets, the musical notes, the colours of the rainbow. It shows that they had this wisdom, In Alexandria, for instance, Alexandria was all about syncretism. The Hellenistic period was all about syncretism. The Greek empire, which was just a culture, really. The Greek culture was totally unique and different to the rest of the empires. And in particular, I'm speaking about Egypt, Medo-Persia, Babylon, and Rome, because those are where all the children of Israel have been, in captivity. See, the children of Israel came out of Egypt, they came out of Babylon, they were there for 70 years by the rivers of Babylon, and of course Esther and Mordecai with Purim, they came out of Medo-Persia. But they always say in esoteric Judaism that Rome is the fourth captivity. And that's because Rome is a mixture of the other three. The papacy comes from Egypt, Medo-Persia, and Babylon. Rest assured that these are the three main contributors to Rome, and they are all about the slave system. Not that these countries are evil, it's just that evil infiltrators have made it that way. Egypt also had beautiful science, but it did fall into darkness. Babylon was amazing in richness and wisdom and great things, but it also fell into darkness. And their systems of control by the money powers and the banksters and the criminals, the lower life of this planet will always, corrupt them. But Greece was different. Greece was truly a syncretic empire. They truly did do what Rome did at the start, tolerate all cults and all sciences. Everything was free, But then Rome changed its heart too, not only with the Julian dynasty and the Flavian dynasty, but also the Antonines and then later the Constantines. And that was the worst period of all in the 3rd century. Big changes happened on this planet, guys. And syncretism was snuffed out for good. Not for good. It's always been underground, but above ground and in the main arteries and channels of society, no. Syncretism has always been underground and always been persecuted, and people like me have always been hunted, and in witch hunts and in criticisms, and because people like us, we are truth seekers. We syncretism is natural, and we just admit it. It's no use hiding it. It's no use running away. It's no use having cognitive dissonance because, our education teaches us different. There's no use bothering with that, man. All those people, those cops and officers and politicians, they've all got cognitive dissonance. They're all hiding and running away from the truth. They're all liars. They have to tell lies and take pills and medication to, smother the reality out. Because they're just liars and they love the lie. It suits them, it's convenient. And it's convenient because that's how they get things. That's how they get all that paper money, you see, the root of all evil. Because it's not real money. It's certificates of IOU, and it's debt, and it's usury, and it's debt slavery. But the point, I got off track there, sorry, guys, is that syncretism was around in Alexandria, and then Theodosius in 394 set the Christians onto Hypatia, and they murdered her and skinned her alive and everything, and scraped the flesh off her bones. Stole all the books. They tell you that they burned the library at Alexandria. They stole them and took them to Rome at the Vatican, in the libraries there. You don't burn books. You never do that. And no matter how stupid Julius Caesar might have been, or any of the other creeps, Theodosius, the emperor at the time, who killed Hypatia and snuffed out syncretism, he was a Constantine. So we've got all these corrupt empires who set their heart about destroying syncretism because it syncs things up, and it's our true nature to sync things up. We don't like to be divided and confused. There's nothing pleasing about confusion. Nothing. It's distortion of reality. And so divide and conquer, it just can't work forever. So how long of a life has it got? Well, we are right now at the point of seeing the self-destruction of divide and conquer. Already it has been defeated. It has been defeated. Rest assured, the New World Order, the Old World Order, whatever the crap they think they're doing out there, manipulating mankind, the elites of this planet, they have been defeated. What remains is the destruction of their empire. And it will self-destruct. But the defeat has taken place, guys. And really that was started in 2012, at the end of 2012. Which, by the way, was 50 years after 1962, and 50 years is a cusp period for a zodiacal sign to transition. So Aquarius began on February the 4th. I'll tell you exactly when Aquarius began. If you go to an astrological site to do the chart, go to February 4th, 1962. And what you'll see there is you'll see the seven visible planets, all seven, Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Sun, Venus, Mercury, Moon, all of them in Aquarius. Now, this just doesn't happen, guys. All the seven visible planets, this is, not including Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, the ones that you can see with your eyes, the 7 days of the weeks, Sun day, Moon day, Saturn day, all of those planets were all in the sign of Aquarius on the 4th and the 5th of February in 1962, ushering in the 50-year cusp when Pisces began, the beginning of the end of Pisces and the start of the beginning of Aquarius. 50 years later, on the 21st of December 2012, Pisces was snuffed out and Aquarius began. And no cusp energy. For 50 years, we have been in a confusion of cusp. That's why this last 50 years has been the most hellish on the planet. Okay? That is why. Because transitory periods are hellish. Or they can be. They can be good too, But this one was the Iron Age transitory period, so you can only expect bad things. But now that's why a year after, in February of 2013, Pope Benedict resigned. Really had to, because Jupiter, the ruler of Pisces, has ended his reign. Saint Peter. So that's why he said to the BBC when he resigned that he could no longer continue in the Petrine ministry. Okay? Now let me just get that article, because that is a kicker of an article. You might want to search in the net to browse for this article. And these are the words that will help you find the article. BBC, Pope Benedict, resign. And you'll see it's one of the most famous articles when he resigned. And I was stunned when I saw him say that. He says, well, I'm no longer fit to carry on in the Petrine ministry. And then the next pope, so he said that in Aquarius, and the next pope, Francis, comes along in Pisces, and he is the first Saturnian Aquarian pope in history. And all the Petrines, so he's the first Jesuit black Saturnian pope, because he come from the black fraternity of the Jesuits. And Benedict, he was the Piscean Jupiterian Petrine pope, you see. So you've got to be able to understand these things, friends. The ecliptic is what will teach you how to understand and decipher all things that are going on. If you don't have the ecliptic, you won't know where you are along the ecliptic. So to know that we are in the age of Aquarius is very important, because now we are in an air sign, fixed air, right? Whereas before we were in a mutable water sign, Pisces. Mutability means two-ness, duality, not much fixability there. Mutability, mutate, change. One fish is doubting, one fish is believing. Two-ness of water, two-ness of emotion. Pisceans, they have two emotions. You see, they're like Virgoans, which are opposite. Two bodies, also two sensual, bodies inside of them, whereas the Pisceans have two emotions inside them. Geminians have two minds. Sagittarians have two spirits. Intuitions, much intuition. But the Piscean is all about emotions. You see, we've just gone through 2,000 years of sheer mixed emotion, being baptized in water. John the Baptist says, I am baptized in water, but the one coming, he will baptize in spirit and fire. So Aquarius is spirit, because air, fixed air is another way of saying spirit. Spiritus is air. When you inspire, well, you're putting spirit in, aren't you? Because you're inspiring. When you aspirate, you're taking spirit out of your body, because you're aspiring. Inspiring, aspiring, inspirate, you're putting spirit in your body, right? Air. So when John the Baptist says Pisces will baptize you with water, but the one coming, when you see the Son of Man in the heavens, know that the kingdom of heaven is near. And so this is a baptism. The water bearer, Aquarius, is baptizing us with spiritual waters, air waters. It's a higher water. Air is a higher element than water, you see. Fish live in water. Man lives in the air, can't live in water. So man is, well, supposedly above the fish. I don't know about that. There's some dolphins and whales that will certainly outrun most humans, when it comes to intelligence. They will run rings around them. But anyway, the point is, we are in the air, you see. So, okay, next question. I'll look for that Pope resignation letter.
Wow. All right, we have one from Sun Moon. This person asks, on March 21st, the sun is in the constellation of Pisces and not Aries. But on Santos's on the graphic, March 21st marks the start of Aries at this, the start of Aries, the spring equinox, and not Pisces as it is as of now. And what do you think about that?
If you know my presentations, you already have the answer. So I would suggest, I think a lot of people just, perhaps, take the information trivially and don't really let it sink in. All astrology, every phenomena, everything depends on the ecliptic. See, all the 30-degree constellations, which are not 30 degrees in the zodiac, they're all different. Aries is only 20 degrees, Virgo is something like 50 degrees long. They are not all 30 degrees in the sky. On the ecliptic, they are all 30 degrees. So in Western tropical astrology, which is what I do, which is Hermetic, Egyptian, Hermetic, Western meaning, Babylonian, Chaldean, Greek, Roman, but in particular Egyptian astrology, they knew that the ecliptic is the ruler of astrology. So it doesn't matter about the precessional slippage of the stars behind the ecliptic. It matters not that now Pisces and Aquarius are occupying the space of Aries, because as we just learnt in today's show, the ecliptic does not change. The first segment that we learnt about, radiance, Aries, is always there. The ecliptic can never begin with Pisces, because nothing starts with water. Nothing starts with liquid. Nothing begins its existence in the liquid state. Electricity just can't do liquid things without passing first through radiance. Ra, Ran, Aries, Arise is always the first 30 degrees of the ecliptic. Doesn't matter whether the siderealists are teaching that no, it's Pisces now. Now you don't actually have the look of an Arian if you're born between the 21st of March and the 21st of April. You look like a Piscean. Crap. Why is it that the physical features have remained pure and true to the ecliptic, not to the stars? You see, as Thomas H. Burgoyne in The Light of Egypt, the Science of the Soul and the Stars, as he made it clear in Volume 2 of his great work, this is the best book you will ever read in your life. Thomas H. Burgoyne, The Light of Egypt, the Science of the Stars and the Soul, Volume 2. In the beginning of that book, he explains this and says, as the ecliptic is, so will be everything else. When the sun enters Aries on the 21st of March, that is the day of balance. It's the equinox. And it always ushers in Aries. It will never usher in Pisces. It will never usher in Aquarius or any of the other 11 signs. Aries always begins at 0 degrees right ascension of meridian. See, astronomers haven't changed it, have they? They haven't said, there's some slippage. Let's now go to 27 degrees of Pisces, because all the feeble-minded ignoramuses think that we should be following the slippage of the stars. Whereas, as today's graphic shows, so astrology is. Where Aries is the first part of the ecliptic. And Thomas Burgoyne explains that the first degree of Aries on the 21st of March brings in a peculiar angle of light, 1 day, 1 degree of the sun, and the sun is 1 day, 1 degree removed from balance. That angle of light is what produces the radiance of cardinal fire of Aries, and it produces a particular kind of person every year at that day. The second degree on the 22nd of March brings a new angle of light from the sun. The sun has changed. We cannot perceive it here because we are too dense in our senses. But the science never fails. And the second degree of Aries brings another type of individual, mixed with all the other planets and elements as they go around. Then on the third day of Aries, the third degree of right ascension of meridian, Ran, a new angle of light bursts through the atmosphere of the Earth and produces a different vibration and energy in all states of matter, radiance, gas, liquid and solid. And those angles of lights, those 360 angles of light produce all the variety that exists. And if we did not have those different angles, those angels helping us, that's what all angels are. Please don't go overboard in literalisms when it comes to angels. It's angles. And so pay attention, dear friends. Tropical astrology is 100% accurate. Now, there is sidereal astrology, which is in the East, practiced in the East, where they follow the slippage of the stars. Beware of this. There is some value in this science, I know that, but it's not 100% accurate, I'm sorry to say. Only tropical astrology is 100% accurate. And the reason why star-based and sidereal cannot be is because there is too many proofs when you come to the physiology of the human being and medical astrology. In the West, we have a very, very rich system of medical astrology, guys. Please look into it. Go on Amazon and look and buy some books on medical astrology. Have a look at my graphic syncretism. If you want to have a look at the best syncretic graphic on the planet, which will give you the best fundamental information on astrology, my syncrota wheel, which syncs all astrologies, Egyptian, Roman, the lot of them. And I also include Jyotish, sidereal, because they have a great science. But it will not be 100% accurate in all fields. With medical astrology, you will see every degree has a different medical weakness to it or strength. And so if planets are on a certain degree, let's say 12 degrees Aries, that might correspond with migraines. Well, then you will suffer migraines, perhaps if it's Saturn squaring Mars in Cancer. So Saturn's in 13 degrees Aries and Mars is in, say, 15 or whatever degrees of Cancer, and they're squaring, because those two malefics will definitely produce trouble in your chart. Now, I've done the chart of thousands of people, and I've done most of, when I do a reading, I include medical astrology, and I've pointed out and picked to 100% their medical problems, weaknesses, and also, potential weaknesses with tropical Western astrology. It is the only astrology that is 100% accurate. You can rest assured. And how you know that is because you need to study the wave. And where can you learn about the wave better than in my syncretism presentations? Because I'm always doing the wave. And that wave changes not. Now, with sidereal astrology, now, see, this is where we have to get really, really deep in our understanding, because a little knowledge is a dangerous thing, guys. You see, this has stumbled many people, this thing about the precessional slippage. And why, oh, yes, it's wrong, astrology, because Pisces is there now where Aries used to be, 2000. So the Babylonians, they're a pack of dunces. I remember when I was Jehovah's Witness in the 80s and 90s, And there was one magazine that came out in the 80s and it debunked astrology, you know, because of precessional slippage, just what we're talking about right now. And I would have, you know, shared that with, you know, when I went door knocking, I would have, and I remember saying it. I remember clearly in the 80s when I was a Jehovah's Witness, clearly debunking astrology by saying, oh, yes, but, well, okay, well, if you're an Aryan and you're born on March the 25th, say, well, guess what? The sun at that time is in Pisces. And you can check that. You can check that, through almanacs and what do you call them? What's the word I'm trying to think of? Not the astrological ephemeris. And but these days you can go on your smartphones or online and browse, and you can find star maps, and they show you that when you're in March in the Aryan period, the sun is clearly in Pisces. It's 30 degrees removed because of, well, you know, it's precessional slippage. 2,000 years ago, it was all perfectly balanced for but a few years. You know, maybe 1,000 years it's perfectly balanced. Maybe 2,000 years. That's it. So when the sun was in Aries 2,000 years ago, right? Because Pisces started 2,000 years ago, but before that was Aries. It was all lined up perfectly. So we've had 2,000 years of slippage, which is 30 degrees. Every 2,000 years, 30 degrees. And so there's always this thing. And so I remember saying, you know, and debunking astrology, I used to love knocking on people's doors and telling them, oh, yeah, this magazine, here it is, and blah, blah, blah. And you see, astrology is debunked. But, you know, hey, Jehovah rocks, you want to join my church? And that's how stupid these church-going and literalists are, really, because a little knowledge is a dangerous thing, and see how dangerous that was. Especially doing damage to myself, because I could have been an astrologer back then and had much more peace and love and harmony and knowledge and wisdom in my life, rather than being an ignoramus. And so this thing about precession is a phenomena that probably is not natural. You see? And so it comes from light not being perfectly balanced. You see? The obliquity of the ecliptic, for instance, which causes the tropics to be at 23.5 degrees north and south of the equator. This represents the sine wave of physical life. You see, now that's not a standing wave. You see, the standing wave or the 0 point would not have an ecliptic. So in the causal world, there's no ecliptic. There's no ecliptics. They only occur in nature. And so this precession is probably due to some cosmic problem with our solar system at the moment. But if that were lined up, there wouldn't be slippage of the stars. But because there is slippage of the stars, this has definitely caused a separation and a slippage, a split in the personality of the individual. And so tropical astrology, as opposed to sidereal astrology, tropical is what I'm teaching, which is the Egyptian, Hermetic, Western, and biblical astrology, Kabbalistic astrology, and all of those schools, the schools of Neoplatonism and all of those Western mystery schools, the great, great schools of wisdom. They hung on to the true science. They did not let it go. And that is tropical astrology. That's the true science. Tropical astrology is syncretism because it syncs up. Precession, slippage, does not. It divides. And so this division is what is... And so what your sidereal astrologers are picking up when they do a reading is they're picking up another aspect of the human being, you see. And so, you know, they do get some, they do get some deep results, you know. They get some very, very amazing readings. I've got friends of mine who are Vedic or Hindu astrologers who have done my chart, and I have one on my computer, a Vedic reading, and I see how a lot of that is good, no problem, but it's not 100% readable and pure language as tropical astrology, because you do not want to be dealing with division. You want to be dealing with syncretism. Tropical astrology is syncretism. Alrighty, sorry for that long one, but I mean I get this a lot. I get this so much, and every day I get this question really, and so just watch my presentations. I say to people, I feel sorry for anyone who's not seen my presentations at least once all through. I really do, because they're all different. They've all come. They've all well referenced, and I've got books that I get my material from. I present them in all the presentations. So if you think you've seen one and you've seen them all, you've missed out on all the other great books and treasures that I've found, that I've shared wisdom out of. And I never do repeats. All my presentations are different. Every single one of them. Every single radio show has different information. You can't just say, oh, yeah, that's him, or I've heard him, like Richard Hoagland, for instance, who every single show that he does, 400,000 of them on Coast to Coast alone, are all about this one photograph that he's got about the moon, which is probably fake. All right, so you don't have to click on Richard Hoagland because it's all about his photo of the moon. But if you click on Santos bonacci, you will always get something different. But in particular, if you look at the astrotheological and holy science presentations, you will see only the sine wave in action. You will see it dance. You will see all the things that it does, yearly, daily, cyclically, as it goes. The wheel is Israel. You see, Israel is real. Cereal, because the sun gives us cereals. It's another way of saying cereal. Ceres, Ra, and El, etc., etc. It's the wheel, and you can only know it tropically, because if you're going to do it, if with other systems like star-based systems, where certain astrologers think that you have to go to, Virgo is 70 degrees or whatever, and so you can't be a Leo if you're born, on the 29th of August. That's July, because that's Virgo. Because now all the constellations have different degrees. No, every constellation exists only on the ecliptic. Only on the ecliptic. And every constellation has only 30 degrees. That's it. And if you vary from this science and this understanding, you will fail. Especially next week when we do part 2, because then I'll seal it about electricity being God. And everything is tropical. Everything is atom on the ecliptic. Everything. Am I still on?
You are, yes.
Oh.
Yes, that was That was a great answer. Al, do you have the next question?
Yes, a question from Gabriel Stooley, and he says, what is the extra 5 days in the year? Does that represent the time of stillness prior to and directly after the manifesto on or off fire electricity?
Well, funny thing about the extra 5 days, the holy days, which were attributed to Osiris, Isis, Nephthys, Set, and the 5 Egyptian gods. They were added, they say, in the history books, they say, in the year 750 BCE. So that's 2,750 years ago. And the Romans, Greeks, Egyptians, everybody added 5 days in that period, which confirms the Russellian viewpoint of the world. Walter Russell said that all planets come from suns, from equators of suns, and then all moons come from equators of planets. And so the planets are in their orbits, and they are rotating and orbiting. They rotate faster as they go, and they orbit slower as they go. So to maintain the balance between centripetal and centrifugal forces so they don't fly off on a tangent, this is how they spin and rotate. So they rotate faster and faster as their lives, as they get older. So planet Earth is, 24 hours of rotation. It's going to be reduced. According to Walter Russell, it will spin faster and orbit slower. So this explains when they added these extra holy days 2,750 years ago in all cultures on the planet. This explains that the Earth has definitely slowed and increased her orbit. So Walter Russell says that she will one day be where Mars is, and she will be orbiting around the time he orbits, which is 678 days or something like that. So from 360 days, 2,750 years ago, apparently, the year was 360 days long, and that's Noah's and the Enoch's calendar, by the way, I think, or 364 years. But anyway, from that time to shortly after that, then they added the extra 5 days, and this would account for what Walter Russell teaches. You see, obviously from 360 days to 365 days, you can witness in real time, really. If you know your historical facts. Not a lot of people know that most years were changed only recently in history. Whether this is a universal phenomenon or not, I'm not sure, but most of the important cultures certainly did it. And so this would explain that then, that Earth is speeding in rotation and slowing in orbit, and all the planets therefore are receding from the sun in the vortex solar system. It's a vortex, and the sun is at the top of the cone, and it's spinning and heliacal. What's the word? Is spiraling in its helix. So spiraling is a misnomer here, but you know what I mean. As it's the feathered serpent, you see, because the feathers are the planets, and he is the head of the serpent. This is why the serpent is so important in theology and all across the mythologies of this globe, because that's what the sun is. Our solar system is the demiurge, the Elohim, the seven-winged serpent, you see. And so as he does his helix and the planets follow, they also recede. And then, according to Walter Russell, they spin so fast in rotation that they turn into stars. So planets becoming stars, becoming planets, becoming stars, and this is forever, if need be. for ever, Eve, if need be. But of course, Brahma is, the days of Brahma have their cycle. They are aspired and they are inspired. Out spirit and in spirit. Okay, so I think, have we got any more questions then? I think we've done a couple of hours.
Yeah, we have plenty more questions, but if you would like to call it a night. Been going for almost 2 hours and 20 minutes. So you've...
Oh, there's more questions?
It's been
I'll do another.
There are some more. You ready? Okay, we have one from Tony Figuccio. He asks if you can talk a bit about white light and white blood cells, if there's a connection between the two of those things.
Yeah. It goes back to plasma, doesn't it, huh? Plasma. And the Greeks call that anything formed. You see, this is why I don't use the word plasma. In that graphic, I use the word radiance because radiance is not formed. But then again, it is, because it's one of the 4 states of matter. See, this is where little knowledge is a dangerous thing. You must see things and understand things on all their levels, because that's how the mind works. It works on 7 levels. The literal is at the bottom and the anagogic is at the top. Ana is fire. Anagogic. Ana, like as in Hannah or Agnes or Igni, igneous, it's all fire. Ana is the fire element. And so radiance, anagogic. In the Jewish system, it's called Sod. They have Pradesh, Remez, Drash, and Sud, the 4 levels of understanding. And so, with words like plasma, anything formed, well, you have to grant that. That's correct. It is correct. It's anything formed. So fire is formed. It has, it must have form, because plasma is fire and everything comes from fire. Fire is the generator. From the tetrahedron, everything comes from that. And the tetrahedron is the tetragrammaton, Yod, He, Va, He, Jehovah. The number 26, iron in the periodic table, iron 26. Very important, because Mars is iron and Mars is Adam. He is red. Adam is red. That means red blood. And in Hebrew, Mars is Ma'adim. Mars Adam. Now, but in connection with white light, it's not really white light. It's still part of the red and the blue, from the red and the blue spectrum. So, I forgot the question. Can you read that again? Sorry, Amanda.
Oh, that's okay. He asked about the connection between white blood cells and the white light.
Right. Well, there would have to be many on many levels. The spleen supposedly is responsible for the white blood cells, according to George Carey, I think. Or did he say the marrow? Marrow, interesting word, Mars, marrow of the bone. But can anyone help me with that? Where's the white blood cells come from? I'm just need to be sure on this one. So
I'll check.
Yeah, look, I mean, the connection that I would make is the whiteness would be from the white light for sure. It has to be the whiteness. And the red, see, there's red and blue blood, right?
Yeah.
You got the blue blood?
It is produced
right?
in, it's, yes.
So
It's
there's
produced
white,
in the bone
red,
marrow.
white. Is it really?
Yes.
Now, is that according to science or who?
Wiki.
Oh, Wiki. Okay.
White blood cells.
So it's not George Carey. George Carey, I believe,
No.
and someone can do research on this. Don't quote me on it, but George Carey says it's the spleen, right? And the spleen is the ruled by cancer. Cancer rules the stomach, the spleen, and the breast. But that's where the corpuscles are made, and I think the white blood cells. But anyway, we can look. I'll look into that. Perhaps have that for next week. That'll be a good one.
It's very interesting. Okay. Are you ready for? There we go.
Oh yes, we are doing I just.
Alan, we are losing you. I can hear you now. I don't know if
hello,
someone
can you hear
else
me?
was having problem, but it seems okay now.
Yeah. Yes, I think at one point my line of questions disappeared. So I spotted Tony's question that you asked.
Okay.
But
thereafter, there's one from Melvin Yu after that. Would you like me to read it?
Let me just see.
It's about the vortex of doubling and halving.
I think it's probably a good idea if you found it, that if you could read that one, Andrea.
Yes, I have to say we have so much participation during this show. It is amazing. The chat is hopping.
Yeah.
Okay. So yes, I have to. Excuse me.
Hey, Alan. Hey, guys. I just posted. I just put in the chat the article of the resignation of Pope Benedict of the BBC. Now, let me just read what I wanted to read to you guys. This is amazing. Please pay attention. Right, this is the BBC telling the world and the universe why, or what it's Benedict Ratzinger telling the world why he resigns. Right. He says this clearly is backs what I said previously about Aquarius beginning on the 21st of December 2012. This is clear as if you don't see this, well, you're not going to see anything, because this is pretty much as plain as the testicles, dog testicles, right? It's sticking out like dog's testicles. You can't miss it. You can't miss this. And 3 times in the article, Peter is stressed. First of all, this is what he says. Dear brothers, I have convoked you to this consistory not only for the 3 canonizations, but also to communicate to you a decision of great importance for the life of the Church. After having repeatedly examined my conscience before God, I have come to the certainty that my strengths, due to advanced age, are no longer suited to an, pay attention, to an adequate exercise of the Petrine ministry. Now, that's the first hint of Jupiter ending his days of sodomy, or anal sodomy, or you could say anal domination, AD, the year of Anno Domini, anal domination, and Jupiter ruling and sodomizing through his legal system. Because, see, Jupiter is the god of legal. Saturn in Aquarius is the god of law. The Saturnians, the Bar, the BAAL worshippers, the Church of Latin Saturn, the BAAL, they are actually Saturnians. So they should be dealing in law, but they got their foot in the wrong ship. They're dealing in Jupiterian legalities of Rome. So they're going to get caught out soon, and they're going to have to change ships and align themselves with law, Aquarian Saturnian law, and not the tyrant Jupiter. So he announced that, and then further on in the article it says, oh my God, get this, guys. It's just too beautiful. When I saw this, I knew exactly what was going on, because I have the key to understanding all things, the ecliptic. However, in today's world, he goes on to say, I am well aware that this ministry, due to its essential spiritual nature, must be carried out not only with words and deeds, but no less with prayer and suffering. And I'm going to finish with this article too, guys, because, you'll see why. I won't take any more questions. I've got a little bit more to say after I read this, okay? Because I want someone to post this article on the Facebook page and highlight these 3 segments where St. Peter is mentioned, Jupiter. This is so important, man. This is so important. And highlight and stress in the comments when you post this, because I wouldn't know how to do it, to highlight it, sort of put a highlight mark over these words, and to say that this is a sure indication that Jupiterian Peter, St. Peter, age of Pisces, is clearly finished. It's over. He goes on later to say, however, in today's world, subject to so many rigid changes and shaken by questions of deep relevance for the life of a faith, in order to steer the ship of St. Peter and proclaim its gospel, whoops, did I just say the ship of St. Peter? Yeah, the bark of Ra. the boat of Peter, St. Peter, Jupiter, Zeus, the tyrant. He's a tyrant. Oh, yes, he gives you good things in astrology, the great benefic. But on his other side, he must be equally a tyrant, and he is, through his legal system, because he is regal. And if he is regal, if he's the king, and he says Jupiter always says, I'm the king of the kings. Zeus is the god of the gods. Jupiter, Zeus, Jesus. Well, he says he's the king. Well, if he's regal, then he's legal. See, that's what you don't want. You don't want regal and legal. You want lawful. And that's what the age of Aquarius is all about. And then later on, so there you go, the ship of St. Peter. And then I saw this one. Oh, my God, this is even more telling, friends. Oh, my God. And then he says, for this reason, and well aware of the seriousness of this act, with full freedom, I declare that I renounce the ministry of Bishop of Rome, successor of St. Peter, again, there he is, entrusted to me by the cardinals on 19th of April 2005. Yes, that would be because that was his birthday. He's an Arian. Of course he was going to be entrusted with that ministry on his birthday, on the Lamb of God's Aries 19th of April birthday. In such a way, because, yeah, he's I don't know whether his birthday was 19th of April, but he's Arian. You see, the new Pope is Sagittarian. They're happier. They're always smiling. Can't wipe the smile off their faces, Sagittarians. You see? But Ratzinger, he was an Arian. He's angry. Rage. But then it goes on to say, and this is the third thing that should be highlighted. Whoever's going to post this, it'd be very handy if you do. In such a way that as from 28th February, Pisces, 2013, at 2000 hours, the See of Rome, the See of St. Peter, will be vacant, and a conclave to elect a new Supreme Pontiff will have to be convoked by those whose competence it is. In other words, he's saying, stuff it, Peter's out. No more, did you hear what I said? See of St. Peter. the sea, as in S-E-E, not S-E-A, which it really is, that the ship of St. Peter that he can't steer anymore is in. You see, you can't steer that ship anymore. No one can. It's vacant. It is gone. He has resigned because Pisces resigned. This is very important to understand this. So if you want to do the world a favour, post that, highlight those 3 segments, and point it to the fact that Jupiter, the ruler of Pisces, the tyrant, the regal, the legal, is over. So the age of the person and impersonation through the person, the corporate person, is over. The dead shall rise. The old order and the new world order, whoever they are, has been defeated. It just now needs to be destroyed because it needs wise people to step up and destroy it. It comes from the heart. You don't destroy it by going out there with hammers and breaking it down. You do it from your heart. You destroy it, you nullify it with wisdom, and exposing what is wrong and what is false and what is hurtful. All right, guys, I think that should be enough. That was a great one. All right? Hold the...
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That was outstanding.
Yeah.
Great.
Santos, so
Great
for
way to
next
end the
week,
show, too.
we
Wow.
continue with the same theme, electricity, part 2. Is that correct?
Yeah. And we'll have those 3 graphics. Hopefully someone can put their hand up to do those, like Ruth did. And so it'd be great to have some help, guys, just little things like that. And because I know Ruth did that graphic, but I don't like to ask Ruth because I know they're so busy. I know because I know Alan and Ruth well, and I know that they're very, very busy. So any time I can get from Ruth is like golden. But if there's anyone else out there that can, help out and post that article, like I said, that would be great. I'll give you the password to
the graphics I can't
page
do
there,
because
and you
I
can post
already similar to what I did for tonight's show. Because I already have the skeleton in Photoshop, so it's not a problem. With the article, that would be fantastic if someone can post that as soon as possible and share it on the School of the Holy Science Facebook page. And tomorrow when I get up, because I'm going to bed as soon as the show finish, then I can share that on my wall on Santos' Facebook page. Or yes, that would be fantastic. That would be a great help.
I can do that. I can do that and send it to you. I have all the design software, so I can grab that web page and highlight the 3 areas that Santos pointed out. Yeah, I'll send it to you.
Yeah, and what to say in the comments? Well, perhaps replay this part of today's show where and you can explain it the way I did, or use your own words, but point to the fact that this is a clear evidence, as above, so below, that Pisces and Jupiter is all over. And on the day, this is another fact, you can actually browse this on the internet and post this along with it. You'll see a lightning bolt at 6 o'clock in a thunderstorm zone, and it hit the Vatican. You remember that?
Yeah.
I
remember. Absolutely.
All right. 2 facts. Pope Benedict resigned 6 hours at 12 midday before that happened. And another thing is, who is responsible for thunderbolts? Which one?
Zeus.
Come on, guys.
Jupiter.
Zeus. Yeah. Jupiter. Thor.
Wow.
So that was Jupiter saying, I'm out, guys. Popey Poo's out, I'm out. And those happened exactly 5 hours and 59 minutes apart from each other in the stars of Pisces. and resignation downstairs, resignation upstairs. There's another, and there's an article on that. You can see that thunderbolt. It's all over the internet.
Great times.
Oh,
Great
yeah.
times
Happened on the same
indeed.
day.
Beautiful.
Yep, there you go. Have some fun with that.
Got
and
it.
Also the fact, and also you could even add to this. This would even make this article even better. That resignation letter, along with what's the other thing?
Yeah, exactly.
The lightning
The
The thunderbolt. Yeah, the lightning strike. Yeah. Also, you could put a photo shot of the 4th of February 1962, where all the 7 visible planets of our solar system are all lined up
in Aquarius.
constellation of Aquarius.
Yeah.
There's enough proof, guys.
beautiful.
There's enough proof. Okay.
Okay, Andrea, thank you for that. Huge favor to all of us. So, my goodness, how
You're
lucky
welcome.
we are. Truly, truly blessed. I'm sure that all the friends tonight here, they can see that. How blessed we are. It's great times to be alive, as Santos always has said. So much to witness, so much to awaken. Beautiful. Well, friends, thank you very much for the time given to each other. Beautiful indeed. We learned a lot. More for next week. So, Santos, you have the last word.
Okay. Yeah, I was just looking at the. I was distracted by the comment in the in the show. Ramadans. I like that.
Ramadans.
Ramadans. Yeah.
I did.
Who put
I
that
did.
there? That's a beauty.
Very-
Yeah. Well, it's pretty much coincides well with radiance because, Adam is in there, dance, Diana, all these words are in. It's amazing, isn't it? Alrighty, guys. So last thoughts. What? Just I guess pertaining to what I'm doing, get the shows out there, spread the word, because once syncretism is the way, as the scriptures say, they will not need to learn the law. I will put the law in their minds and in their hearts. Aries and Leo, the 2 radiant signs. Yeah, when the lion and the lamb lie together, there shall be peace. There's always this. And in Revelation it says, the lion of the tribe of Judah is worthy to open the 7 seals, and the Lamb who was slain from the founding of the earth is worthy to open the 7 seals. The 7 seals are the 7 chakras, and they are to be opened. Opened by who? The mind and the heart. And the law of God will be put in their minds and in their hearts. So, once syncretism is out there good and proper, that's what the Renaissance was all about. They revived the Hellenic syncretic period because Marsilio Ficino, Pico, Bruno, they all harked back to that period and said that this is the syncretism. And Pico went down to Rome with 900 theses of syncretism in the 1400s. Right, so they were ushering that in then. Syncretism, it was snuffed out. Yeah, the papal power snuffed it out. But this time it's not going to be snuffed out. So, carpe diem and omnia vincit
Santos.
veritas.
Thank you, Andrea, and thank you, Alan.
Yeah, can I just on a mundane matter mention to people who may be looking out for this the recorded version of tonight. It may be delayed a little bit next week in being put up as the last one has been, because we're moving the site to new hosting, and it's slightly complex matter because it's quite a big site. So it should be back up again towards the end of next week, and that's when any additional
thank you for
recordings will
mentioning
be
that,
added
Alan.
to the site.
Yes,